The go-between from the law firm texted me at 3 p.m. Sunday to let me know she had the kids securely in the car with their belongings and was on her way to the house. I doubt any text message in history has been as dreaded for anyone as that one was for me. What made it all the more tragic was the fact that weeks before, I would have smiled and anxiously awaited the text. Suddenly, a reunion I would have been yearning for was something I dreaded. I had no plans to mention divorce, paternity, or any issues with the kids. As much as I tried to prepare myself, I knew I wasn't in the state of mind to bring any of that up. My goal was for things to go as normally as they could, like the other times they stayed with grandparents while Mary and I were on vacation. That's what I wanted. I knew reality was going to be something completely different, and I had little control over any of it. Jessica, the intern from the firm, pulled into the driveway. I watched them pull up from the front bay window. I walked outside and down the steps as the car pulled to a stop. I was smiling as I approached the passenger side of Jessica's car. As soon as I saw Carrie in her car seat beaming a huge smile at me, I started crying. Oh, I was still smiling. You couldn't have knocked that damn smile off of me with a 2x4. I just hoped if I maintained a smile, it might convince the kids and myself everything was okay. Wish I'd had a plan B. As soon as I could get her out of car seat, Michael was by my side, and I grabbed he and Carrie and just hugged them. I told them I missed them. That was really all I could manage to say. I just kept crying, and people can hate me all they want to. God knows I've gotten some hate-filled messages privately and publicly, but it all felt different. It did not feel the same as the day I hugged my children goodbye. I want to say it did, just to get the people who think I'm a loathsome wretch off of my back. Maybe part of the loss I was feeling was over the family unit we all used to know being destroyed. My heart was just flat out broken. Seeing them and knowing she isn't mine just broke my heart all over again. That is what my life has become. Every single damn day it feels like there is a new heartbreak. I learn more of the extremes of Mary's cheating escapades. I discover pain I can't shield the kids from. I am reminded of the past bonds and know they were all founded on lies. I keep backing away from the volcanic epicenter of chaos that started when I caught Mary cheating, but I keep getting blasted with stray boulders of betrayal daily, learning how much I have been deceived. Jessica was a saint helping me get them into the house. I grabbed all of their belongings like a pack mule, and she closed the doors and trunk. As soon as I placed their bags down in the floor, I turned to see Carrie looking up at me. She didn't say anything. She just looked up at me with those eyes like she knew I was the one that needed the hug. I squatted down. She walked into my arms and wrapped her little arms around me as tightly as she knew how. That child broke me. I wanted to be strong. But no kid should hear a parent cry like that. Everyone keeps insisting I do the things that damage them the least. That's great. Even logical, but what if everything damages them? What if there is no way to keep the damage from happening? Allowing her to see a source of strength and security destroyed has to be damaging her. How could it not? If I abandoned her, it would destroy her, yet by staying in her life, I am damaging her as well. A 6-year-old shouldn't have to console a grown damn man. Especially for something that isn't her fault. My soul was seething with rage toward Mary at that moment, but the little girl she lied and told me was mine just showed me love only way she knew how and kept hugging. The indisputable truth of the matter, the epiphany I had at that moment. She and I are both victims. As the adult, I'm supposed to be able to maintain and handle it better. She doesn't even know she's been victimized yet. Just as if she and I were the only survivors of a plane crash. We survived, but it's going to leave scars on our souls. But as the survivors, we need to stick together. We need to be there for each other because we're going through the same damn thing. Yes. Very different perspectives, but at that moment, I was feeling the loss and yet sparing her much of the pain by taking it upon myself. I have been looking at this as Mary taking my daughter from me, but it is just as true to say Mary took her father from her. The villain in this damn story is Mary. I'm done feeling like I should feel guilt for anything I feel right now. There is no paternity handbook that I'm aware of. Reddit knows how to respond when someone is being cheated on and gives top-notch advice all the way through the divorce. The proper way to react when you find out the daughter you raised was never yours: get the hell out of here with that shit. Nobody can tell me how the hell should feel or react. The only analogy I can give: his children switched at birth. That's a couple facing that together. They were both deceived. They both get to find out the offspring they were told was their flesh and blood was really the sperm and ovum from another couple. Unless you've endured that or the same thing I am right now, you can't grasp how it feels. After about a half an hour, I managed to get my shit together. Jessica left after getting a hug from all three of us. I handed her a small envelope with $500 inside and told her it was for gas. I knew she drives an app and she knew it wasn't for gas. I carried Carrie around in my arms as Michael showed me some of the things he helped make with his grandfather. Carrie just kept her arms around my neck, making sure I knew she'd help stain some of the wood. I went into my standard. "I don't believe you came." Michael joined in. That devolved into a tickle session, first for Carrie, then Michael. I cannot convey how wonderful, and at the same time, heartbreaking, it was to hear Carrie's squeals and laughter. Seeing Michael happy and laughing was a joy for my broken soul, because I knew the future held little to none of what we were at that moment in joy. They teamed up to wrestle me. I liked seeing them work together, even if it was against me. Father or not, by the time she's old enough to date, I'll have her able to say no with feeling. I put on some music ever since she was a baby. Carrie has loved music. I have danced with her from the first week she was born up until the previous month. I'm sure I look goofy. I don't care. I have fun, and she loves acting as silly as me. I got you breeds to bring takeout for dinner. We aren't Asian, but sure as helly like it. Michael can throw down some lo mein for a 10-year-old. And for whatever reason, Carrie loves crap rangoon. I didn't eat much. My appetite has taken care of any weight loss shoes I had. I just enjoyed getting to have dinner with them again. They both had school today, so I got them bathed, PJ'd and ready for bed. Michael likes to read a book as he is settling down. I gave him a hug, told him I loved him, and I'd see him in the morning. I got Carrie tucked into bed and read her a storybook while pointing out things in the artwork. I had her about ready to nod off, and I felt myself welling up with tears. I kissed Carrie on her head and told her I love you for the first time since finding out. Call me the biggest asshole on the planet. I don't care, but saying it was like allowing myself to admit it. Everything in my life has been a struggle in recent day to figure out what is real and what wasn't real. My love for Carrie is real. I love her. I do feel different. Right or wrong. I do, but I love her. I went from not wanting to take anything away from her to continuing to want to get. It's a huge difference. But, anyway, I was sort of waiting for Carrie to tell me she loves me. I mean, I know she does without her saying it. No. She took the moment to tell me, "Mommy loves you." I knew what she said. I made a point not to snap at her and be as sweet as I could possibly be when I asked her, "Carrie, why did you tell me that?" She said, "Mommy told her." I very sweetly asked if Mommy just said that, or if Mommy told her to tell me that. It seemed my soon-to-be ex-wife had to explain why I hadn't been to visit, wouldn't be coming over, and she wouldn't be coming home with them. She actually told the kids her parents' house was her new home, which I was kind of glad of, but the "I love you" BS, I still had to get to the bottom of. I pried some more. Then Michael came into the room. He revealed their mom had told them she wouldn't be coming home because I didn't love her anymore. What the fuck was I supposed to say to that? Yep. It's all on me. I just fell out of love with your mom. Blame me was not happening. I called our usual sitter. I asked if there was any way she could come over for a few hours to look after the kids, since they were already in bed and that meant she could study while getting paid. She agreed. I got into the car and made a beeline for my in-laws' house. I didn't bother calling first. When I got there, I knocked on the front door and asked to see Mary. Her mom led me to her childhood room where she was recuperating from her injury. I turned to her mom and placed my hand on the doorknob before telling her Mary and I needed to chat. She sensed I was a little on the pissed off side, so she scurried out of blast radius. As soon as the door was closed, I asked just who the fuck she thought she was trying to pin our split on the fact I could never love her again. She said it was the truth. I told her perhaps, but the reason I could never love her again is the fact she is lying, deceitful, worthless, promiscuous, lying whore, way to deflect blame on her little role and everything. She then said she's already tried to apologize, but I didn't want to hear it. I exploded. I asked her what fucking good a damned apology was going to do. It wasn't going to undo the damage, and it wasn't going to keep the damage from happening. And in spite of all of that, I didn't believe she was truly sorry for what she'd done. I asked her how she could manipulate two innocent children to make me look like the bad guy if she had any guilt. I asked her at what point I became the bad guy that destroyed our marriage. Without missing a beat, she told me when I didn't give her a second chance. Not going to lie, I stopped her and asked how much pain medication she was taking and if she was drinking alcohol with it. That was the only logical way I could see her thinking a worthless this line. Tramp deserves a second chance. Mercy, to be treated with dignity and respect. Nope. She lost all of that by her own actions. Again, I don't even know who my wife is anymore. It's like she's been possessed by the ghost of Cola or Charlie Sheen. My beautiful virtuous wife was replaced by a soulless hookup Harley, and it's a miracle of God himself. My junk hasn't rotted off due to her disgusting actions. I asked her if she felt justified destroying everything in her life for sex. She said it wasn't just for sex. I reminded her she claimed to want no emotional involvement. She said much of it, especially at first, was about validation. She said she liked being chased. She got pissed when I asked how she could ever consider herself chaste, but she can go get banned. Actions affect how you are perceived the rest of your days. She can deal with it. Mary and I ended up talking several hours. When she went through the depression after having Michael, she even told me I had been the best supportive husband she could have asked for. So I had to ask, why betray me so cruelly? She said despite such a happy event in our life, there was a part of her so anxiety-ridden she actually wanted to die. She said she felt love in her heart for me and for Michael, but for some reason, she couldn't understand she felt oppressed and dead inside. She stayed out of work for an additional 6 months due to her issues. I got her the best shrinks and doctors money could buy. She admits as much, and she said even that started making her feel guilty, feeling she was letting me down. I was carrying us. She said she felt overwhelmed even though she knew she wasn't bearing any of the burden. She said she started to doubt if she ever should have become a mother despite always wanting to be a mom. She withdrew from friends in person and via internet. Text. She told me every day she loved me and apologized. I told her I had nothing to apologize for. I just wanted her to get better. Maybe she was apologizing for what she was about to do. When Rebecca came to the house, unannounced the first day, I was so glad to see her. I knew Becca was bossy enough to not be pushed away, but be kind enough to get married to open up. It still took months before anything that could be considered a night on the town occurred. Just getting married to go to Starbucks was a victory at the time. There are a ton of guys thinking I'm the biggest slap on earth letting my wife go to bars or clubs with a single girlfriend. 99% of the time you would be 100% correct, and I should have put a stop to it much sooner, but at that moment in our lives, after all the sadness and isolation, getting her out and about seemed to cheer her up even after just the first time. She tried to explain she'd suddenly become a wife and mother in a period of 2 years. She said seeing how thirsty men were for her, even if it was for sex, boosted her ego. She claimed the first incident wouldn't have happened if she hadn't been so drunk. But it happened willingly. Once the knob was slop, she knew I'd never touch her again if I knew. She knew she'd lose everything because she came into the marriage with nothing. I asked her if she ever thought I'd find out about her cheating or how I'd react if I did. She said she knew it would destroy me. She claimed she felt horrible about it. I asked the obvious question, why continue to cheat? She claimed as soon as she sobered up after cheating, she felt guilt, shame and regret. I did remember her being really sad for a week after going out the first time. Rebecca came over, and the two of them talked for hours alone. From that point for months, I had the old Mary back. She revealed she told Becca that day she felt unworthy of me because of what she did. She knew if I found out we were done, I would go after Michael. She claimed she decided to take it to the grave and try to be the best wife she could be in every way to make it up to me. Red flag. Yeah. Now think I'm a fool all you wish, but we had a baby to look after, and I had been doing 95% of the caregiving. Overnight, I got my wife back. At the time, I would have been stark raving mad to think that was a red flag. It was a damned miracle at the time. Within 2 weeks, I was back working part-time, then full-time once Mary was fine as a psalm. Looking back, the time just before and just after Michael was a year old, those had been some of the happiest of our lives. At least for me. To find out it was all due to her trying to make up for blowing a stranger in his car forever altered those happy memories. I asked why she cheated again if I just wasn't enough for her. I had always thought we had a great sex life aside from her depressed period. She always acted like she enjoyed sex with me. She claimed the longer she went keeping the secret, the worse she felt about herself. But unlike before after Michael was born, she couldn't let on to me how she felt. She knew I'd want to know why she was sad to comfort her, but she couldn't tell me. She claimed the internal struggle keeping the secret and living the lie of a facade of happiness. She reminded me when I went to a reunion of my bio mom's family out of state. I took Michael with to introduce him to her family for the first time. Mary canceled at the last minute claiming she was ill. I couldn't have stopped her from cheating on me at that moment. That was already done, but I might have kept her from heading down a road that would deceive me for 6 years that something I cherished was never mine. I wasn't blaming myself. Her ask could and should have been on that plane. No, actually, she should have already confessed to her infidelity, and let me move on with my life, yet somehow multiple mistakes, complicated with multiple lies, with little concern for consequences, and that's my burden to bear now. That's something you do to an enemy, not someone you claim to have ever loved. She gave me some story about being so depressed that weekend while I was away. She knew she was unworthy, even if I didn't. She was punishing herself, even if I didn't know she deserved it. At least that was the way she rationalized it. She knew if I knew I would view her as a whore and be disgusted with her. I never stopped showing my love, telling her how much I loved her, but she said at some point she realized if I knew the truth, I wouldn't love her. The attention I focused on her didn't matter. It didn't carry the same weight as before because she realized she was unworthy of the attention. And I'd realized that too if I knew about her sleazy rendezvous. She said she called Becca for a shoulder to cry on who convinced her to go out for drinks. According to her, she spent the first part of the night crying and asking what she should do. The bartender bought her a few shots to help her cheer up. She didn't have to say Rebecca nudged her towards some flirting. She found herself kissing the guy in the back alley behind the bar and stopped herself. She went back inside feeling even worse than before because she realized she cheated yet again. More alcohol. Becca needed someone to help Mary inside. She asked the guy who just had his tongue down my wife's throat. Rebecca left them alone and clothes came off. I asked her if she once thought of Michael, if I ever entered her mind as she betrayed us both. She got pissed and told me she never betrayed her son. I let it be known she betrayed not only me and Michael, but Carrie, our parents, everyone who watched us take our vows and got above. She betrayed the sanctity of our family and marriage, but I stopped and just shook my head telling her despite what she'd done to that point, she should have just let me go. I told her I would have looked out for Michael. She could have hovered around with the entire state after we divorced. I told her I would have gladly written her name on bathroom stalls for her, but she didn't. She kept lying. She kept cheating. So much of it disgusted me to hear, like she had an actual strategy after the first few guys. She didn't want them getting attached to her as she wasn't going anywhere unless she had to. She wasn't looking for an emotional connection. She called it fishing, getting a guy's number, break the ice, give a little nibble, pull away, get him to pursue, but on her timetable. When she said she already knew I thought she was beautiful, getting second opinions didn't feel like a bad thing at the time. I just looked at her shaking my head. At any rate, the bartender is not Carrie's father, that much we are sure of. He was months too early in the game to have been the sperm donor, and she claims they only hooked up that one time. I asked if she could remember the names of the specific guys she was talking to and getting to pursue her, maybe a coup of first names. But I wouldn't know where to find them was enough to shut that conversation down for the night. Yeah. I wanted more answers, but the details of the BS aren't coming out in one night, and that wasn't what I came there for. She was seated in a chair to be able to prop up her cast on pillows, so I got down inches from her face. I told her she was a pitiful excuse for a human, and I truly believe she has no soul. I told her that her actions have caused unimaginable pain and will continue to do so in the future, but I looked her squarely in the eyes and let her know I was not going to let her hurt my children anymore. I told her point blank that I was the one who got deceived for 6 years. If anyone was going to be getting a little slack for focusing on his needs, it was going to be me. But, Mary, I told her, and I meant every word, petty bullshit and manipulation is just going to make me loathe her even more. We weren't getting back together ever. I was disgusted for her to even touch me. Loyalty wasn't even in her vocabulary, but father or not, I was going to be loyal to Carrie. I was going to protect her as much as I could. And if I end up having to protect her from her mother's lies, manipulations, and deceit, so be it. I told her Nadia has friends that would love a new BMW for getting her declared an unfit mother. I went there. It was a threat, and I meant every damn word. I told her if she had things to say, she could say them to my face. Getting Michael or Carrie to relay things their mother said was not happening ever again. Carrie was to know little to nothing about any details of Art divorce. And for right now paternity. But when the time came to tell her I would be the one who would break that news, it would be me who got to explain how her mother victimized us both. But we survived together. There is no way in hell I was allowing the person who destroyed so much for us both get to downplay it or blame me. That horrible news wasn't coming anytime soon for her as far as I planned until the need arises. And I'll decide when that is. I pointed out she doesn't have a lawyer and let her know the kids would be staying with me for at least the next 2 weeks. She needed some time to reflect on not only the entirety of her betrayal, but her cruel manipulation that will only hurt Carrie. I'd let her know when she'd earned the right to be a mother again. There wasn't much she could do. I had the kids. She's in 2 castes. Let her live with some loneliness. My God, I've made mistakes in my life. On the drive home, I kept wishing somehow I could have just known how things would turn out, and this is the biggest struggle of my life. I hope it is the biggest struggle I ever face. But so much has been destroyed. The sham marriage I was living needs to be torn down, ground into dust, and the soil tilled with salt. But there is no reason to hurt a little girl who at the moment is blissfully unaware at the battle between her mother and her daddy. I wanted to stay that way. Those children cannot see us together. When Mary and I are in the same room, the entire aura loses venom. That's beyond toxic for us. I'm not subjecting the kids to any of it. I will not fight her in front of them, but I swear I will put her in her place and call out the slightest BS. I'm sorry this has been long. I just feel like every decision I make has 1,000 ramifications. The man up, DNA doesn't matter. People need to understand that hurting Carrie is the last thing I want to do, and I have every intention of being not only in her corner, but fighting for her. I don't know how this shit is going to end, but me and that little girl got shafted by the same person. A person that I refused to let damage her the way she damaged me. Not happening, and no mother, fewer is coming around my daughter until I allow it. That won't be Mary's decision either. If I check his background and meet him, I'll make that call if the day ever comes. Until that point, my son, Michael, my daughter Carrie and I are weathering a storm. I've managed to shield them from what's coming. I will shield them from as much of the shrapnel as I can, but our souls are all going to bleed a time or two before this is all over. This carnage could have been prevented, but once the bomb goes off, it can't be avoided. I'm sorry for venting. I intended it as an update only. But this is all too much sometimes. I am in therapy 2 times per week. Not sure it's helping, but it's early on with the shrink, so I'll give it a few more sessions. I have to get to bed, so I will post this and let it be. I won't post again for a while. It has helped to verbalize some of what I've been feeling. So thank you. I just need to focus on my healing and making this transition in life as seamless as I can for the kids. Thank for all the direction and encouraging words.